Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about my homeschool experience, which in case you guys didn't know, I was homeschooled my entire life up until now, which I'm now in college. So this was a decision, as far as I'm aware, that my parents made really early on to homeschool us. I think it was a combination between seeing how the school system was / obeying the Lord, which is obviously the most important part. And so all 5 of us kids were homeschooled except for a couple different ones in our family. The second oldest, my sister above me, she went to a Christian private school for, I believe, freshman year of high school for 1 year. And then my youngest sister, Chastity, she also went to that same school for a few years. She's still in it right now. And then she also did classical conversation. So she's probably the one that has the most diverse homeschool experience. But the rest of us were pretty much straightforward homeschooled. And I, for one, was fully homeschooled. So going back to as far as I could remember, I believe some of the first curriculums we started using early on was actually Sunlight, which, if I remember correctly, was mostly a reading-based curriculum. And so I remember my mom reading a lot of books to us growing up, like chapter books. We would sit in the living room as she would read those books to us. Couldn't tell you what they were, but I remember bits and pieces of them. So a lot of reading based, and then also maybe Saxon math. Is that a thing? Am I remembering that correctly? Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did Saxon math. That like came out of nowhere. Anyway, so that was some math we did growing up. I remember having like sheets of equations we had to work on. And then as we got a little bit older, we switched to what was called PACE. And in theory, these made a lot of sense. You had like a pamphlet book for every class. So you had like history, math, science, English, literature, maybe a Bible. So like 5 or 6 different books. And then each day you had to go through like a certain amount of pages of each book. And then you would like level up to the next grade or whatever. And it made a lot of sense because it was like really simplified and you just read the page, do the work, grade it, good to go. There was a couple things that personally I didn't love about it, / if I was going to homeschool my kids, I would not use this curriculum, even though it seems really simple and straightforward. And one of those was how easy it was to cheat. As someone who did cheat, I found it really easy. The grade books had to be hidden really well for me not to cheat because, like I said, it was really straightforward. You just had a page of reading and then a page of equations or problems. And so I would just like go find the key book, find it, fill it in. It's really hard to know if it was like my own work or if I cheated. So I think learning wise, it wasn't really beneficial to my learning. A second thing about it that I didn't love was there was little comic strips in the pages, and it's a Christian-based, I think it's Christian. Yeah, it's a Christian-based curriculum, but the comics were really religious, so it kind of put across the wrong message that personally I didn't love, and I also think my parents didn't love because we did not continue that for very long. A reason I did love it was how straightforward it was and how easy it was to plan out the week. So me and my sister were really good at doing the math on how many pages a day we needed to do to get all of it done in the week, which turned into us being really diligent at like getting up in the morning, doing our pages, and then we would be done by like 10 o'clock in the morning and be able to play the rest of the day because we got everything done. So on that note, I really liked it because we were doing the work. You can't get mad at us for playing the rest of the day because we did do our schoolwork. We are learning. So on that note, I really did like it. So that is something I think I'll think about for my kids growing up with homeschooling, as it was really nice to be able to have space to be creative and have fun and not worry about homework or school at all because I had done it in the morning and it only took a couple hours. So I do really like that aspect of PACE. Moving forward into about high school age, I believe, my dad got more involved with our homeschooling, and we started doing morning like classes where we had to be in the living room. I think it was by like 9 a.m. and he would have like a little whiteboard out, and every other day he would do like spelling and like grammar with us. And then the other days he did what I called LOL, which was lessons on life. And in those classes, he would teach a specific subject that he felt was important to our lives. So he is a personal trainer and has worked at a gym for as long as I know him, which he's my dad, so really long time. So during those LOL classes in the early days, he would teach us anatomy a little bit, and then also fitness and form and nutrition. And then later on, we did a couple things like speech class. The speech class was really interesting because we got to choose a subject that was important to life. So I think my sister did, teaching us how to change a tire on a car. Yeah, just like practical things. And then on the grammar classes, he would do like spelling tests with us. And at this point, we also had some friends, family friends, these couple boys who would also join us for these homeschooling sessions. So they would get dropped off in the morning, and it became like a little school homeschool op group or whatever. So I really liked that format. Actually, I'm way more of a structure person, so that helped me a lot with subjects that I'm not super great at naturally. So I liked it, and I think he did a great job. And then at the same time, they focused on history as well. So for history during that time, I had a massive textbook that I had to read. And then at the end of each week, I had to write like a paper on what I read. And my dad had to review it, and we talked about it. He would like quiz me on it. Honestly, hated that part, but what kid does? I will say, me and my brother also had some videos of history videos we watched. And those were probably the most beneficial for me. I think I'm more of a listener or visual learner, so those videos were really helpful too. Like, I remember the Donner family because of watching those videos, and I remember like the droughts in California because of those videos, and not because of me writing papers about the history books. So definitely think it's really important for parents, if they can, to see and recognize what's beneficial for their individual kid that's helpful for them to learn. And so I think my parents tried a bunch of different methods. They were trying their best because they had 5 kids to teach. So I'm not shading them at all. I just think if you can do that, I think it's really important to give kids what they need to learn best. If it's a video, if it's a textbook, if it's writing, etc. So my parents during high school really focused on what they considered the most important subjects. So at the time was math, history, and English, and that's what we focused on. We pretty much focused on nothing else other than the LOL classes on like lessons on life. So the way that I graduated was actually taking the GED. I do know now that there are other options out there, but that is what my parents set up for us to do. I think if I was going to do it now, I would probably look into like college programs and graduating with technically a diploma instead of a GED, and then also what it takes to like some core classes in high school to get into college, because I think that's really beneficial, and I know that exists for homeschoolers and also people who go to school. So if I was going to do it now, I would recommend people looking into that first before looking at GEDs. But that's what I did, and unfortunately for me, I didn't test well in the pre-test, so I had to take some classes at the college to get my math and science up to grade so that I could take the GED. And in the process of doing that, I realized I don't know science at all because they never taught me science. Luckily for me, for the most part, it's pretty straightforward, like the high school stuff. So I did pass the GED science section just fine, but in the process of that, I realized, oh, this is important. So I think if I was going to homeschool my kids, I'd try to make sure that they get a little bit more of that than maybe I did growing up. And it also could just be that I have no memory of learning, and they actually did teach me. So no shade to my parents, it's just my experience. So in conclusion of all my homeschool experience, I do plan on homeschooling my kids as well in the future. I think there's a few things that people think about when they're considering it. It's like social. We also have the normal things that you might get to have opportunity as when you go to public school, like prom, football games, sports, graduation. So all those things were something I'm sad I missed out on, but at the same time, it's not affected my life in any way. So I think it's not going to affect my future kids either. And me and my husband are really pretty social, so I don't think you're gonna have any lack of being around people, or if they want to do sports or music or whatever, I think that'll be just fine. And so I think that's a big concern of people who think about homeschooling. They think their kids will be like antisocial or have trouble having networking opportunities or something, but I think it really depends on the parents themselves and how they parent and homeschool. So if you're concerned about that, you probably won't have that issue with your kids. So that was my homeschooling experience. If you have any questions about it and you want to know more about it, let me know. I can also talk to my mom or my other siblings about the experience, and we can have a part 2 in case you guys want that. But yeah, all right guys, have a great day, and I will see you guys next week.